Alright, so I just want to talk to y'all real quick about a couple, well, the two entry events that I look for every day and that are pretty much my bread and butter as to what I'll take. Okay, and it's going to be these two top charts here. You can ignore these bottoms. It's just how I have my chart set up. But the first one is kind of a two-in-one almost. I am So right here we notice the narrow state of SMAs right there, and we also have our Fab 4 marked here, right? But the Fab 4 is a little bit wider than I would like it because of where price moved right before the close. But anyways, we have the Fab 4 marked, but we notice the narrow state. So that's really the key thing here. We notice that the 20s underneath the 200, this signals a short position. So right here, even this is in a short position just because the 20 is underneath the 200, right? So, but just something to note, nothing too crazy here. Anyways, market opened with this big power bar originating from this like flattish, pretty much flat 200, right? This power bar came right from this 200. When that happens, that's a very, very key move, and it could signal a move to the upside whenever things like that happen. Right. I saw it earlier today as well, right here, just to give you another example. Nice power off of a flat 200. You're going to get a push. You most likely will have a follow through in the direction of this power, right? Okay. Anyways, so first I noticed this power bar form, and we close below the Fab 4. So right here, I'm short now. I'm a short bias because I see all this selling pressure. Power bar coming in from the 200. That's enough to enter lows, to be honest. But let's just say we didn't, right? This power bar, we would take note of it. So sellers are in. The next thing I'm looking for would be a gift zone into this movement here, right? This means the next candle after the power bar candle comes back up into an area of this power bar. What you look for are the three key areas, which will be these, right? Bottom third, 50%, top third of that power bar. If price comes back up and stays within the bottom third of that power bar, that shows sellers are in control, and what price is doing is just dabbling, tapping back up into that power right here just to get a little bit more of like a trampoline or a rocket almost push down. Now, if it moves up to the 50% area of this, it's not as strong, but it could still reverse and you could still get a nice entry to the downside. Now, but if it goes up above that top third, that's when you want to second guess this direction. Maybe buyers will be stepping in. But in this case, it stayed in between that bottom third, right? Dipped into that power. Whenever it does that, once it comes back up into this area, all we do is wait for it to break this low again, the low of this power. Once it does that, we enter. Boom. That's a gift zone entry. Really the gift zone would be entering up into the power, but you can wait on the enter into the power and then a little bit of a pushback down to break that low, just to have a little bit more confidence in that selling pressure there, or any pressure. So this right here would be a nice gift zone entry. I really like this for a gift zone entry. This is a trade that I took today. However, I was on a one-on-one call and I did not take any of this because I was trying to give an example of a color change entry. So I waited, And what I waited for was for this right here, right? So I entered right when this white power candle broke below this green candle, placed my stop here. This was my trade, and I don't know if I still have it marked. I don't still have it marked, but sorry about that. But anyways, I waited until this white candle broke the low here, and then I entered. Right, and I entered this today in a live lesson, and I think my level was like down here, and I think I marked it, but I've deleted it since then. But let's just say this was my TP, this was my full TP, right? 50% of that, I'm taking some, and some people even take some at a quarter. It'll just be how you would want to manage that. But what I did was I took some at 50, and then right here on this third candle, once we made these new lows, I took a little bit more on this third candle here, and then once we broke above this 50% area, I was out of this trade here. So that's how I did this. It was just a little two leg. I just caught the second leg. One or two legs are fine. Once you get this engulfing, because technically this will be an engulfing right next to the 20 like this for more downside. The reason why I wouldn't enter this is because it would be a third leg. Not saying price can't continue that direction, but really the moves like to happen in twos, and you want to catch either one or you want to catch two, depending on just how price is moving and what it's giving you. So in this case, I caught that set, just that little second leg down to those new lows, and made some decent gains on that, just because I wanted to show an entry event of the color change versus a gift zone or a power bar entry. Just trying to stick, help him out and stick to that. But anyways, you can see it worked really well. I was able to secure those gains. Now right over here to the left is more so the same thing. This is a good example. The only thing here is the Fab 4 is just square, more square than you would really want. We want it more rectangle, but the reason why we took note of both of these is because of the state of the SMAs and price. They're tight, right? Like the state of the SMAs are tight. Right here, they're tight together. Right at that close, they're really tight. At this close, they're narrow, which is, I'm sorry, they're neutral, which is fine. Moves can still happen, as you can see. This is a Fab 4. Open up here, you get color changes here. Made new highs. Color change here. Made new highs. But we're not even looking at that. I'm just giving you an example of how it can still work without being a super long Fab 4, as long as it is a narrow state or a neutral state. Right? Once it starts to get to wide states, less likely to have a directional move. Right? So what we note is the narrow, the neutral state of this, right? Boom. Mark the Fab 4, a little bigger than we want, but we're looking at the state mostly. Okay, cool. Price opens above, closes above, so our bias is long, right? This green candle does not overtake this red candle, so this is not an entry. But once we get this candle here, it overtakes it, and which will be an entry here to the upside. Reason being is right here, boom. So this is what you would see. The 20 would be there. 200 would be there, boom. So we're entering coming from this narrow state with the 20 trending up now and starting to trend away from that 200, right? We're going to take this color change entry to the upside. We're going to make new highs. Right here is when you could trim a small amount, 10%, 20%, just because you made new highs. Sometimes stocks like to make new highs, then drop back down. But my point is, secure a little bit at those highs, and then after that, just let your stop loss be the 20 SMA. Once you break below, then you can sell. And you can see here we got another color change entry event here. You could add more to the position. You could sell more, whatever you want to, however you want to manage it. You could do that. And as you can see, we never broke below that 20. It's acting as a support. And then right here, we had a little bit of a break below, but really nothing crazy. And it made new highs again. So this is just a good example of power of green, of a good narrow state, creating a nice color change, and then you just grabbing it to the highs, right? This is pretty much what I look for every day. I look for color change entries just like this from narrow states starting to trend. This is bread and butter. Over here to the right, you look for narrow states, power bars from flat 200s, or gift zone entries up into big power bars. Those are the two I look for. Now we have tail bars and 180s. Those are a little bit more rare and hard to come by. They're powerful, but they're a little bit more rare and hard to come by. So these two are really the bread and butter: gift zone entries and color change entries. And then the third one would be just entering on power, just entering on absolute power bars. Those are really the top three entries right there for what I look for every day. Don't want to make this video too long. I just wanted to go over a couple things and show you guys what it looks like whenever you get power off of a flat 200. You get power off of a flat 200 whenever you get a color change from a narrow state. When the 20 starts to trend, color change near that 20, like that. That's it. They happen all the time, and they just keep coming. So, yeah. If you guys have any more questions, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with these examples. I know I've talked about these before in my other videos, but it's just they happen every day, and it's just amazing that it just continues to happen. You just have to figure out how to identify it, how to set everything all up, know it's setting up, right, and then execute off of that. So, but that's just a couple entry events that I look for. So if you guys have any questions, just let me know.